The isekai genre has gotten very popular, especially within the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years. So let's take a look at an article done by Game Rant to see what some of the best isekais of all time are. Once again, we are back looking at some of the best isekai of all time according to Mark Summon of Game Rant. He made a list that we will go into, but before we even start, the article talks about how popular isekai is, what it is. Basically, isekai is people who get transported to another world, whether it be video games, or they die, or they just happen to walk through a wall, or something of that nature, and, you know, our protagonist ends up being special and having special powers, being overpowered, along those lines. Or sometimes they get transported to this isekai and they're just some guy that can shop online and do stuff like that. It's a big variety of what kind of isekais there are. But Mark takes a dive into it, talks about the best ones that came out this year for summer 2024, but we're not here for the summer 2024 list. We are here for the best of all time. So starting with the list, he puts down Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious, which has about a 7.5 on my anime list. You can find it on Hulu, Crunchyroll. It's based on the novel and the light novels. I'm not sure if there are manga for this. I don't think so. At least not here in the United States. We haven't found it, which I would have thought it would have been brought over by now. But isekai loves an overpowered protagonist who can blast through skyscrapers-sized enemies with barely breaking a sweat. When the goddess Restarte, I forget how to pronounce her name, summons Seiya to help her save the world from a brink of annihilation, she gets a hero who is only willing to dive into threatening situations if their victory is 100% assured. Basically, this means training and taking no chances during battles. It's a very lighthearted story, and it has a very good love-hate dynamic between Seiya and the god, driven basically by the humor. It's pretty good. They make an appearance in Isekai Quartet. If you watch that, Isekai Quartet is a very good, funny, lighthearted spin with Overlord, Konosuba, ReZero, Shield Hero, and some other like different isekais that are thrown into the mix. Oh, Saga, Tanya the Evil. All of those get thrown in together, and it's just a good, funny time making fun of all of them while each having their own traits. It's very good. But yes, anyway, he starts a list with Overcautiously Hero. I'm in Love with the Villainess is another pretty okay one. I didn't really enjoy it. It was alright, but I'm picky when it comes to isekais. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here watching like this one about a guy who finds these kids. Anyway, I'm weird with my taste. Villainous stories are starting to become a commonplace, with most seasons seemingly producing a new variant. I'm in Love with the Villainous presents a nice twist to the formula since the protagonist wakes Otamage's heroine rather than its villainous. However, she decides to romance the latter rather than any of the reverse harem male candidates. She says, nah, the main character goes, nah, I'm still in love with the villainous, so that's going to be my whole goal. So you follow this man while it's basically followed up with a bunch of comedy. There is some wholesomeness, romance mixed in between. It's pretty good. Pretty alright if that's up your alley. I've fallen off the rom-com kind of stuff as of late. Kamikatsu, Working for a God in a Godless World. This is a raunchy, very off-the-wall show. Yes, it is a isekai. The description goes, the son of a cult leader, Yukito, is killed by his father as part of a ritual. When he's awakened in a world with no concept of gods, although not as exciting as he was hoping it would be, Yukito eventually comes to see his new life as a big step up from his previous existence. However, the changes when he learns that 2 of his friends are chosen to be killed simply because they fear death. A lack of spirituality he has, for some reason, spawned a society that treats death as mundane events and villainizes anyone who does not share the mentality. Luckily, Yukito's former cult deity pays him a visit. So he basically brings a god into this godless world, and you end up seeing that a couple episodes in, they find out that society is actually run by a bunch of gods and a bunch of these animatronics that are created, and they end up destroying the fabric, I would say, of reality, and gods are introduced. And now each god are fighting for different people. The more people that worship the person, the stronger they are. So now they're fighting between different factions to get as many people to worship. It's very interesting, very funny, very raunchy. If this is not one you can watch at work, because there is literally a sex cult at one point, and they go really heavy into it. So just a forewarning, this is something that you would not watch with your parents. Next up, why Rihanna ended up at the Duke's Mansion. I have not watched this. I don't know what this is. So let's see what they have. See at Amazon. I guess you can buy it. And it looks like it came out in 2023. So they did a article line up with that. But after being pushed to her doom, Rinko awakens as a supporting character in a fantasy novel she once read. To make matters worse, her host, Radalina, I think that's how you say it, is destined to meet an untimely end at the hands of her fiancé. As Rinko would very much like for that not to happen, she sets out to strike a deal with the powerful Noah, the duke who appears charming and noble, but is really quite devilish and complicated. He says it's good. It's on Crunchyroll. There's 12 episodes. It came out in 2023. I don't have much to say about it. Then we have the wrong way to use healing magic. I have heard about this. It is not a redo of a healer. If you like redo of a healer, you need to go see a therapist. But the wrong way to use healing magic came out in basically the beginning of this year. It was released for the winter season of 2024. It apparently came as a big surprise because the show follows Ken, who is summoned into another world alongside two classmates, which the latter were picked as hero candidates by their summoning kingdom. Ken was just an accident, though he proves to be a valuable ally as he is capable of using healing magic. Before long, Ken finds himself under the tutelage of Rose, a fearing leader who plans to whip her new student into a soldier. In its two halves, the first couple episodes lean heavily into comedy, while they consistently funny thanks to Rose's intimidating demeanor and Ken's hilarious reactions. As it progresses, the humor subsided and drama overtakes. So it sounds like it starts off funny to keep people in, and then as it goes on, it takes itself more seriously, and the drama starts building up from there. It sounds pretty good. I mean, I'd give it a try. It's not, like I said, anything like redo of a healer. Ugh. Grimgar Ash Illusions. I hear this is fantastic. A bunch of my friends rant and rave about this all the time. Came out in 2016. There are light novels. I believe there's manga. It's available on Crunchyroll, Hulu. On the surface, it is like any game-like themed isekai where teenagers wake up in a strange world constructed on MMO tropes and they must get by. The thing that separates this from the other shows, however, is that while in this world might, pull from MMOs, it is not governed by the rules. Minor threat in any other anime can very be deadly, so it doesn't take anything funny. So like any slime could kill you. Anything can actually lead to death, and death isn't just a respawn in this. You can't just wave it off. So I like that it leans into more of the final, or like more of the fantasy-esque. Like, yeah, there's some stuff pulled from these tropes, but it's actually dead serious, and you got to take it seriously. I really do like that. King from Now On, never seen this, don't know it came out in 2004. Kyo Karamoa is the Japanese title. It was done by Dean, Studio Dean, good, reliable. Let's see here. King from Now On starts with a protagonist, the unassuming Yuri Shibuya, having his head flushed down the toilet in an ordeal that teleports him into another universe. Before long, he finds himself crowned as the Demon King, a role that puts him right in the middle of the Demon's War strained relationship with humans. This bizarre start reflects the start of the show's direction. It basically blurred between hijinks and dramatic. So it sounds like a standard 2004 with there's a lot of hijinks and kind of weird stuff, but it also, pretty good stuff that keeps it interesting. But I mean, the standard 2004 tropes. That's what it sounds like. Uncle from Another World. I heard this is great. Oji-san. Isekai Oji-san. 13 episodes came out in 2022. It's based on the manga. There's no light novels. You can find it on Crunchyroll. Basically, you got an older man who gets isekai and you follow his hijinks. I mean, that's pretty much Oji-san. While yes, it is a big comedy, after spending nearly 2 decades in the other world, though, he wakes up in a hospital bed and reunites with his nephew. While initially skeptical at his outlandish claims, he becomes a believer when Oji-san displays his magical powers in the real world, including a TV-like ability that acts like a flashback machine to his adventures. So, he goes and does this fantasy stuff for 20 years, and then all of a sudden he wakes up from a coma, and he can still use his magic in this world. So he goes and tells these stories, and you're like, you don't believe me? Here's, here you go. There's a playback. So you follow these wacky tailed adventures and, all this stuff that pretty much Oji-san has to offer. Fuki Yugi, I didn't know this was an isekai. It came out in 95. I've seen this stuff all the time. You can find it on Crunchyroll. You can buy it on Amazon. You can find it for cheap on eBay and stuff like that too. But I thought this was just a play. Hold on. Fuki Yugi is a minor classic that while far from unwatchable, has not aged especially well over the last 25 years. In this day and age, someone's appreciation for the show might come down to whether or not any nostalgic attachment to it, or at least the old shoujo tropes. Miyako reads a book that sends her into another world and quickly learns that she is the priestess who will play a pivotal point in conjuring a god. If you really didn't think that's good, why'd you put it on the list? You got to be confident with this. I mean, yeah, it's got 52 episodes. Look it up. Fuki Yugi is kind of beautiful, but I agree, it doesn't really hold up. You can really tell it's from 95. Kind of like watching Astro Boy in this kind of day and age kind of feeling to it. Rising of a Sheer Hero has become an instant classic as soon as it came out in anime form. It has 3 seasons going on 4. You can find it on Crunchyroll. It's got manga, light novels, not visual novels, regular novels. Basically, follow our boy Naofumi, who gets summoned with 3 other people from different variations of Japan, from different timelines, it seems. But there are 4 heroes: the sword, spear, bow, and shield hero. The shield hero is looked down upon for some reason, which you find out later on. But Naofumi is basically, no one wants to be with him. He ends up taking on this person, and later on they get accused by the king's daughter who joined him, and he gets outcasted. So you follow his story from building from the ground up, being betrayed everyone, taking on this slave, Raftalia, and it's a very good, solid story. I really do enjoy Shield Hero, very appreciated of it. I got the manga, I'm up to volume 17, I need to get back to it because I'm pretty sure it's like a volume 30, 40 now, especially with it being out for so long. Look it up, highly recommend Shield Hero. Digimon, we've talked about this multiple times on this thing. Digimon's a classic, came out in 99, first 54 episodes in the first one. It's Pokemon and Digimon came out at the same time. If you don't know what Digimon is, just look it up. I'm kind of surprised they put it on there, but not at the same time. It's pretty good. Then this one I referenced, Campfire Cooking in Another World. Basically, you follow Mukoda, who basically is a middle-aged salary worker who gets transported along with these other people who become heroes for this kingdom. Well, he doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to go and explore the world that it is, because he's like, I get a second lease on life. Let me go do it. So he ends up getting this ability where he can online shop and basically get stuff teleported to him. And it follows his journey from there. It's just a dude going and exploring. He ends up getting some powerful creatures to fall in love with him and travel with him because he has, food that they really like. Pretty good, pretty good. The magical revolution of the reincarnated prince and the genius young lady. I don't know what this is. It came out in 2023. They said it was the best winter anime in 2023. I don't know what to say on this. I really don't have anything. And they said it's pretty good for Isekai anime in 2023. That's all I gotta say. I don't know I do a lot of anime content, but that doesn't mean I know everything, All right, the next one. Sumichi Moonlight Fantasy. That is currently getting a second season right now. The first season done by C2C. This one is done by JC Staff, I think. Yeah, JC Staff. It's taken from the light novel. The first season was very enjoyable, which I do agree. It was very enjoyable, very well executed. I haven't seen the second season. I think some people might think it went a little off the wall with JC Staff, but that's up for you to decide. You can find this on Crunchyroll. And the protagonist is really kind of what makes this funny. It's basically a parody of isekais and like overpowered stuff, because he is overpowered and he's basically a parody of one. His looks are like mocked because of how he looks, and his summoning sequence is close to like how is pretty much you could compare it to Konosuba. I think that's one of the best ones. Like in heart, it's kind of like Konosuba, but he doesn't look like the regular like main isekai where people fall in love. He gets mocked for his looks all the time. It's very interesting. It's a parody on itself. The power scaling this is pretty off the wall. It's like it's kind of hard to see who's where and that stuff. So if you want something that parodies itself, makes fun of other isekais and itself, go check out Moonlight. Now and Then, Here and There. What? Came out in 99. You can't really find it. You could probably find it on some not so friendly sea places. Anyone who wishes to take a break from ideal isekai fantasies, an ordinary boy, Shu, meets a mysterious girl, gets whisked away by terrifying monsters to a desolate reality, and then spends roughly the next 13 extra episodes going through hell. Huh? Why are you You're not even like ranting and raving about it. It is a character-driven anime and focuses beyond the main characters. 99 isekai series does a splendid job. Okay, there it is. Exploring the roster of unforgettable personalities and accomplishes an incredible amount considering its single core anime. So it does a lot. I guess it's good according to him. I've never heard of this. I've never seen anything about it. If you know something about this, put it down in the comments below. I'm very curious. Sunny Boy came out in 2021. This one flew under my radar, but it's basically directed by Shingo Natsume, who did stuff with One Punch, Space Dandy, Boogie Pop, some other things. I can't remember the rest of them. But Sunny Boy is an unconventional coming-of-age story that plays out like a more surreal version of Peter Pan. So if you want anime Peter Pan, this is where you want to go. This is very unpredictable, disjointed, and not especially satisfying. It kind of leaves questions unanswered. You take this how you want. I never watched it, but it says it's like Peter Pan, so I guess it's going to be like Peter Pan, you know, but that's up for you to decide. Gate is one I stand by. I rant and rave. There's some funny stories behind Gate when it comes to like dealing with America as a whole. So Gate is based on the JSDF. So what happens is one day you follow our main boy here, Itami, who is currently in JSDF, but he's just going to a video game convention in Kamiket, where suddenly this magical door opens up in the middle of Shibuya, I think. I can't remember exactly where it shows up, but this door opens up and a bunch of fantasy creatures come in, starts killing a bunch of Japanese citizens. Then eventually the JSDF gets involved and they all push him back. Well, eventually the JSDF forces their way into this fantasy world with modern technology and guns, and it follows from there. It's such a good, funny story, but it's so like realistic when it comes to how politics would be, how other people play into it, and how it would lay out. You can see it on Hulu, High Dive, it's on Crunchyroll, it's on a lot of different places. So, fun fact, little story for you. When Gate came out in the manga, they did have Volume 1 come over to the United States. But because it was seen as propaganda, the United States government did not allow the publication past Volume 1. So there are Volume 1s running around somewhere. I can't find them. And I really, really want a Volume 1 of Gate in my collection. So if you know anything or can find me a lead to it, link down below, please and thank you. But let's get back to it. Gate, highly recommends, very funny. Magical Knight Rayearth, very good, classic magical girl anime. You can find it anywhere. You can find it on YouTube. Shit, you go find it on YouTube. You go watch it for free. That means you could stream it too, by the way, because it's on YouTube. It means it's fair game. But go find Rayearth. It's pretty good. Visions of Escaflowne. I've heard this is pretty alright. I heard this is like one of the pre-going of Isekai. I have never watched it. You can find it on Funimation though, so that's definitely something you can look into. Oh, I'm kidding. Funimation don't exist anymore, so this is nowhere. You can't find this. I'm sorry. This list needs to be updated. If I can't find it, there's no point in talking about it. But you can find it probably on some illegal sites, and apparently it's kind of alright. That's what I'm getting out of it. Drifters is another good one, and I think this is the end of the list. Let me just... Yeah, this is the end of the list. And the list ends on Drifters. It basically brings together the who's who of historical figures. Is a bloody and glorious outlandish isekai that does wonders with absurd premise. Sounds like Fate. Just kidding, just kidding. Essentially, important figures from history are dropped into a fantasy world to duke it out as whether drifters or ends. Drifters act as a resistant force against the ends' oppressive regime, leading to plenty of awesome moments such as Toyohisa Shimazu? I don't know who that is. Facing off against insane Joan d'Arc. So you get to face against Jalter. That's nice. But let me know what you think of this list. This took me way longer than I planned to go over this list. But they had a lot of cool but weird options in here. Let me know what you would have put on this list. I would have definitely put Konosuba on here. But they didn't even mention that. I think Konosuba is one of the best comedy isekais of all time. Best comedies, period, of all time. And they didn't put this on this list. Kind of disappointed. And there's a couple other ones I would have put on here. Death March in a Parallel World should have been up here. There's just a lot of things. So let me know what you guys think. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.